Hi, everyone. This is Mark, and please allow me to introduce you to my new book, The Affair. This is a true story. This is the story of a relationship, an account of things and events that happened which should never have happened. This is the story of two people whose bond was doomed from the start. This is the story of two people who were meant to meet and to fall in love with one another, but whose affair with one another would leave a lasting scar for one of them more than the other. So, today, October 31st, today is the day when my new book, The Affair, is released. And coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, today is also Halloween. And just as I hopefully described in the best way possible in the description, which can be found on the rear cover of my new book, The Affair is a true story. It's a true story that was very hard for me to write, quite honestly. But it's a story that had to be told. And it's a story that has been waiting to be told for years. It's a story that I wrote quite quickly, actually. And it's not a long story, but in some ways, it is about a long story. It's about a relationship between two people, an affair that began, which didn't last for a long time. However, the relationship between the two people who were involved in the affair lasted for a considerable number of years. And as I said, it's a story that I felt had to be told. And the characters in it, they are two people who at one point really did love one another. However, it was, like I say, the story and the title of the book speaks for itself. It was an affair. So you can be the judge of who was right, who was wrong. But in my opinion, I know exactly who was right and who was wrong in the relationship that is documented in the affair. However, I think it's worth noting that nothing that everything happens for a reason. I've always believed that. I believe every relationship that happens for a reason. Now, relationships begin and they end for a reason. However, I also believe in things being said and people not getting away with things that and I also believe that there are some stories about some people, especially true stories, that are worth telling and sharing because it exposes other similar people in the world who have done similar things and who have got away with doing similar things. And I personally don't believe that people should get away with certain things, and I don't believe that people should get away with treating people in a bad way. But life is very complicated. Um, the story of the affair is about a man and a woman, and perhaps you could say the man was should have known better. He should have made different choices. However, he chose not to because of his feelings for the woman in the story. And yeah, it's a story about love, loss, relationships, infidelity. It's also about humanity, about being human, I guess, and what humans will do. You know, the lengths that some people will go to, for whatever reason, and they're capable. Human beings, some human beings are capable of doing anything and of hurting many people, and then moving along and going along, getting along with their life, and not even regretting what they did. But yeah, that's just humanity, isn't it? But anyway, so just a disclaimer here. As I said, the story is a true story. It's based on true events. It's based on a true relationship that happened. However, some of the people in the story, some of the characters, uh, the names have been changed. However, if you read the story and you know the story and you recognize yourself in the story, then you'll know who you are. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to put that out there. The main protagonist goes unmentioned and unnamed. However, he is the narrator of the story, and it is told from his perspective. But as I say, you can make your mind up who is who is at fault and what you would have done if you were in the same position. However, as I said, it's a true story. It's a true account of events that happened to the letter. However, as I say, I've changed the name of some of the characters in the story, as well as the female character. However, the first letter of the female antagonist, shall we call them, remains the same. So you can if you could go through the plethora of other names that start with the same letter, and you might be able to eventually find the right name. But yeah, but like I say, true story, true events about an affair that happened and what happened after. It's about what happened during the affair, what happened after the affair, and what the repercussions are of that affair were. And yeah, and as I say, it didn't take me long to write, but it's a story that has just been burning within me for a long time, and I just knew that I had to write it. And I'm so glad that I did write it, actually, because it was very cathartic. But yeah, so my book, The Affair, is now available to buy in hardback, in paperback, and also as an ebook from Amazon. And yeah, I think that I'm just gonna end by saying that I hope everyone who reads it enjoys the story, goes along on the roller coaster of emotions and feelings. And as I said, I hope that you and everyone who reads the story will have an opinion about the characters in it, the story that is told, and perhaps you'll have a different perspective than the main character does on certain events. And as I said, you may, if presented with the same choices, you may have made different choices and decisions. But yeah, uh, as I say, it's 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 a story about a chapter in the life of two people. A long chapter, you could say, um, of a very short relationship, but a relationship that most probably should never have happened. As I said in my introduction, and as it says on the back cover, it was a relationship that was doomed from the start. But I just want to put it out there that it was a relationship built, especially at the beginning, um, and it was meant to be one of two people who loved each other. Um, yeah, so I think we'll leave it there for now. I just want to say thank you for listening. I hope you'll choose to pick up a copy of The Affair and maybe even try and get in contact with me and let me know what you thought of it. And until next time, I just want to say thank you for listening. I hope you like what you heard, and I'll talk to you again soon.